So I wanted to make a quick video about this topic came about due to a conversation I had with I guess I would call it, I think we're friends, a friend and mentor here on YouTube. We talk quite a bit here and there. And he was talking about how people in his area don't put enough into their housing. They build things half-assed. They keep it very simple and basic, and he just doesn't want to suffer. He doesn't get it. And the thing is, and this kind of led me to think about, why do I choose to live the way that I do? Well, the reality of the situation is it started as just a desire to have my own housing without having to pay an arm and a leg in rent. And it kind of, I guess it grew. Maybe I just came up with justifications for it. But over time, it's at the point now where I could afford a normal place to live if I chose to. But I don't want that. I don't want to stop myself there. And the way I look at it is, the moment I get into an apartment or I stick with a house on a mortgage in a place I don't want to live, I've capped myself off there and I can't go any further. Now, I might accept a house with a mortgage in a place I actually want to live, but I'm not going to choose to live somewhere I don't want to live just because I can afford a house there. To me, that's foolish. And I do see a lot of that online here, oh, millennials are moving to these cities in the Midwest, in the Great Lakes region, because they're affordable. And it's like, who wants to live in that area? Really, like, I don't want to live out there. And maybe some people do. Maybe some people are into that type of climate. I'm in a similar climate here, and I can't stand it. I like the summers. The rest of the year sucks. Don't want to be here. I'm going to do everything in my power to leave before the next winter. But I think a big part of it too was wanting to have access to land in areas where I couldn't normally afford land. Like, you can buy land somewhere dirt cheap. There is dirt cheap land out there, but you get what you pay for. And especially in areas that nobody wants to live, I could go live in a city in Nebraska, but it's not for me. That's not my jam. So I'd rather live at a lower standard somewhere I want to live than live somewhere I can afford to live just because I can afford to live there. That's a big reason for it. And I think in the long run, you got to think about the fact that putting small pieces in at a time, if I'm in an area that allows that, or at least looks the other way on that, or is mellow about that type of thing, as long as I'm not making a mess or causing a liability issue for my neighbor or contaminating the groundwater or whatever, then who cares what I'm doing? As long as everybody's okay in that situation and nobody's getting harmed, then who cares? I would rather live a simple life, a cheaper life, and save my money and put it into business and have a long-term return than, and invest, than spend all my money on rent so I can live comfortably now. I think that's really the big takeaway, is I'd rather be uncomfortable now and comfortable in the future than comfortable now and uncomfortable in the future. And the way that I see a lot of people's lives go is they get a job and they get a place to rent and they pay 50% of their income, 30 to 50% of their income for rent, and they have nothing left. They're living paycheck to paycheck after all their, expenses. They got to pay for gas to get to work and all this stuff. They don't even have the flexibility to make a decision like, I think I'm going to buy an electric car and drive it once a month so I spend less money on gas so I have more money to put back in. They got no options like that. Or I'm going to just keep this old car I've got and fix it up. Or I'm going to, I'm going to build an addition onto my house today. They can't make any of those decisions. It's just, let's say they want to have a kid, or let's say they're tired of their pets waking them up at night and they want to add a little bit of space onto their house. They can't do that stuff. Let's say they want to grow a garden. Can't do it, live in an apartment. And so I wanted to have that freedom and flexibility early on, and I knew that there was another way to do it. I knew that there had to be a better way to live than just paying all my money to a landlord and that's it, and that's all I've got. And I did do this, the big dumb. I bought a house on a 30-year mortgage, but I had the idea in my head that this house, I'm going to use it to make money. And I think I came close. I came really, really close to succeeding in that. Ultimately, just wasn't viable in the location that I was doing it in. I didn't pick a good location. I shouldn't have tried to do it there. And that's why I'm here, because I wanted to be in a better economy with better chances. And what did it take to go from one of the crappiest economies in the country to one of the best economies in the country? Well, I had to push, and I have to live simple. And I don't want to be here forever either. So I'm living simple again. It's always people spend so much money on their dwelling, their place where they sleep. And I think they do it to show off. I think people want to show that, hey, I've got this amazing life. And my thought process when I'm showing off my dwelling is, hey, look how simple this thing is. Look how cheap I'm able to live, how frugal I can live and still be okay. I mean, I'm fine as long as we don't stay here for too many more winters. I'm totally good. But that's kind of the thought process, is keep everything dirt cheap and simple so that I have more wiggle room, so that I don't have to stay with a shitty job that I don't like. So I don't have to stick with something I don't enjoy, something that isn't making me enough money to live. I can do a little bit of that, but that money goes into stuff that gets me out of that situation rather than just going into a vortex that holds me in place forever. That's the big thing, is I do not like being stuck in a vortex of just depression, of working a job I hate and only working that job so I can continue to work that job. And that's really what happened every time that I tried to live in a normal house in a normal location, pay normal amount of rent so far, as I didn't really have the flexibility to work on my business or the energy. I was always spending all of my energy on either keeping up the house payment or keeping up the house. So for me, now it's about, where do I want to live and how simple can I live there to start with, to get my foot in the door, get established, get businesses going. And then we talk about maybe building things up to where, they're super nice and comfortable. Of course, I'm still going to grow my own food. I'm still going to put effort into the place that I'm in. I'm going to take care of whatever land I live on. But do I need it to be super advanced and nice? No. I can live I can live like anybody else in the world. The thing is, I think we as Americans have this super high standard of living. We're kind of spoiled. We have this idea that, oh, everybody's got to have a shower with hot water in their house. Everybody's got to have, central heating and cooling. Everybody's got to have a lawn, and I've got to have my Netflix, and I've got to have really killer internet access, and I've got to have perfect. Everything has to be perfect. You're living like a person that has a good thriving business, and yet you don't have a good thriving business. No wonder it's expensive. And I know that there's a lot of unfairness. I know there's a lot of wage theft and whatever, but you can't do anything about that, really, based on our laws, the way that our country is structured. You're not going to touch those issues at this point. But what you can do is control your own life, decide, I don't need that stuff. It's not important, and I want to have that money so I can do business myself. So that's the way I think about it. I'd rather invest in this YouTube channel. I'd rather invest in writing. I'd rather invest in property and building a small homestead with a simple shack on it to start with, than spend all my money on a big house in the suburbs or in an apartment that I can't afford right off the bat and be trapped in a job I hate. It's this mentality that I don't have to build my life up to get what everybody else has. And you fail to realize that everybody else has that stuff because of either debt or because they're successful in business. There's no free lunch, right? So if you want to live the way everybody else does in debt, you can go ahead and do that, but you'll be in debt. If you want to live the way everybody else does, successful in business, you can do that, but you need to be successful in business first. People want to jump to the conclusion without going through the steps to get there. So anyway, that's my spiel. That's why I live simple. That's why I live like a homeless guy, because I don't need all that until I'm ready for it, until I can afford it. and I would rather actually have the resources to afford my life. That means I'm not making a giant house payment every month for 30 years, than not. So that's my thought process. Hopefully, somebody found it insightful and helpful to their lives. Maybe it's encouraging to you. You don't need everything everybody else has, and people will crap all over you for it. But if you're happy and comfortable, and maybe your spouse or whatever, as long as you're comfortable and happy, do what makes you comfortable and happy. Don't be living your life to make other people happy and impress other people. Impress yourself. Impress yourself with your entrepreneurial ability and your ability to earn that stuff and have it with no payments and have it with no pain, with freedom, with the ability to go do what you want now because you've got everything in your life paid off. I'm just saying, man. do it the right way. Anyway, thanks for watching, y'all. Have a good one. Bye now.